Hello everyone and welcome back to a top level game of professional StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Zerg, where in game number 1 of this best of 5 series, we find ourselves on the map Data C. Spawning right here in the top right hand corner and playing with the red Zerg drones from Finland, we have Serral. His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Terran SCVs hailing from France, we're looking at Clem's main command center. When it comes to European Terran versus Zerg, it really doesn't get much better than these two facing off against each other. They've got, of course, a lot of history as well, as they've faced off against one another many times before. I haven't seen these games, so I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up happening in this series. It was recently played during the European regionals of Dreamhack Atlanta, so that does mean that this is a big match, and obviously there's a significant amount of money on the line. So both of these players are definitely looking to bring their A game. In general, Serral very much so that macro Zerg, very much so the kind of guy who will most often just absorb every blow and then eventually come out swinging with a massive army. Now, I say that he has been mixing it up over the last couple of years, but especially in like 2018 or so, 2017, 2019, he was playing that macro style pretty much exclusively. Over the last couple of years, we've seen him going for a couple more roach rushes, especially if it's like a best of 5 series and he's like leading 1-0 or maybe even 2-0. He likes to mix it in, but his default definitely is to go for that more macro focused style. Clem, very much so the kind of guy who will hit you at 17 different angles at once and somehow micro every single one of the battles. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but Clem really is a micro god. When people think about high-level micro, names like, for example, Bjorn come to mind, Maru, but I definitely think that Clem deserves to be in that list as well, because Clem is ridiculously fast. One of the problems, of course, whenever you have like, say like Europe facing off against one of the Koreans, right? So say Clem versus Dark or whatever. You always have to play on a server that is equal ping for the both of them, right? So say, for example, you're playing Europe versus Korea. Most of the time, the games will be taking place on NA West or NA Central, meaning that both players have a ping of about, give or take, 150 to 180 or so. When it comes to microing those Terran units, like with Zerg, it doesn't really matter all too much, okay? With Zerg, most of your micro comes down to setting up the engagements, right? You want to come in from a bunch of different angles, set up a surround and all that. Obviously, there's some micro as well when it comes to, well, making sure the banelings don't roll into siege tanks and all that, but it's a little bit more forgiving when you're playing with those Terran Marines and you're trying to target fire down your opponent's banelings and you're trying to pick up at the absolute last possible second. Dealing with that ping is super tricky. So yeah, whenever it's a Europe versus Europe match, right, you can make the assumption here that this game is not played on the Australian server, because that would be just silly. Yeah, these guys are obviously playing with as little ping as possible, and in those sorts of scenarios, oh wow. That was a little bit trippy. In those sorts of scenarios, though, I think Clem is absolutely lethal. Quick third CC opener right here from the Terran player. What exactly are we doing here? Oh, okay. It's a second factory. Well done. He's definitely the kind of guy who's more than happy to micro Marines, but in this game, apparently that is not the plan. It's a second factory super quickly, hiding in the back of the main base. The only reason why we ever see Terran players, whenever we see them going for a second factory, it's to go for the Blue Flame Hellion upgrade. This build was popular in the early days of StarCraft 2. So this is a triple CC variant, definitely not the most aggressive version of this build, but I'm assuming Infernal Pre-Igniter is coming up. It's 100 gas, right? Should be 100 gas. No? Ah, there we go. All right. Yeah, no, it is. He just didn't start it up right away. This Overlord is going to try and figure out what's happening. Now, what exactly will Serral see? Okay. The Overlord is going to go down, but he won't find all of the tech. Honestly, this might be a little bit suspicious, because that timing right there is a little bit shaky. So it's even going to be a starport on the back of this, too. So the plan, I'm assuming, is going to be Blue Flame Hellions. Maybe, yeah, transform them into Blue Flame Hellbats as well, which is super powerful. But Serral is, of course, very good when it comes to reading these sorts of situations. One key aspect of being a macro Zerg is that you gotta deal with very limited amounts of information. Well, sometimes you're Serral, however, and somehow, some way, you get a couple Zerglings. And that is the biggest Serral move ever. Like, how? I'm gonna back up. Sorry, I don't even understand. How did that just happen? So there's a couple of units out on the map. Is that the reason as to why? Yeah, so Clem is being aggressive here, and a couple Zerglings, they take the route all the way through the bottom right-hand corner, and they just simply run into the opponent's main base. Are you kidding me? A couple of Hellions over here sleeping on the job. Both of the supply depots down. Well done. Serral finds out exactly what it is he's playing against. What is the response going to be? First off, he decides to go for Spore Crawlers. Okay, so maybe a little bit concerned for a Liberator follow-up. That tech lab right here, by the way, I thought for a second we're gonna go for a switcheroo and maybe even go for some delayed Banshees. Anyways, he also follows it up right now with a Baneling Nest. This Baneling Nest feels very late to me, though. Like, despite the fact that he scouted it just now, I guess he... I don't want to doubt the GOAT, but... that Baneling Nest is not gonna be finished before the Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade is done. That is gonna give those Hellions their blue flame attack, which makes them deal way more damage. Then again, yeah, Clem a little bit concerned right now as well. He would like to commit, but he knows he's been spotted. He's got more units moving across the map, so maybe all of this is now a little bit disjointed here, right? Clem wanted to be more aggressive here, but now he's thinking, okay, is it really worth it? He's decided to go for the armory. Maybe because of that Zergling Scout, Clem is not committing. And even though that Zergling Scout got in, Serral did not go for the fastest possible Baneling Nest, so he actually did not have a counter. Well, not as comfortable one anyways, against the Blue Flame Hellions. Clem giving his opponent a lot of respect here, but I actually do believe he could have, yeah, he could have just jumped into the mineral line. Anyhow, a little bit of an awkward situation right now where, yeah, you've shown your hand, you know what you're going up against. Now Serral definitely has enough. A couple Banelings available, he decides to go for the +1 Carapace upgrade here as well. There's a Hellion drop inside of the main base, okay, they decide to transform into Hellbats. Okay, good micro here once again, though, by the Frenchman. Gets a couple drones at the same time. Okay, you know what? This may actually be working out. Ooh, Serral! Ooh, going for the Evo block of a lifetime. Or, yeah, he's... yeah, okay, he gets it. Still loses 10 drones, though. That is not the defense I expected. In the meantime, he's dealing some damage on the other side of the map, too, by the way. Killing a bunch of SCVs. What an awkward early game. Units are still driving around everywhere. How did those... I'm gonna back up again, sorry. While that engagement was going on... Okay, there's just a little Zergling run by over at the 3rd Command Center. Not a lot of units available for the defense, despite the fact that Clem has pretty much the hard counter against little Zergling run-bys. He's decided to send everything across the map. Eventually those links will get picked off, but... 10 drones on their own. Pretty nice. If you, however, lose a whole lot of those Hellions and Hellbats, it's already a little bit less nice. If you then also end up losing a bunch of SCVs at home, I think that aggression is completely nullified. Double Hydra then. Hold up, hold up. Double Hydra then. Is that intentional? Is Serral purposefully going for the double upgrades? So Hydras do have 2 upgrades. They have grooved spines and muscular augments. One of them is an ranged improvement and the other one is a movement speed improvement. Okay, no, it was not intentional. Thought for a second he had some crazy timing attack in mind, but got a feeling that that really wouldn't work out too well anyways, although it would be possible. Clem only just now really starting up the siege tanks. That siege tank is not even properly, look at that guy. He doesn't care. I guess the weight distribution is fine, but I'd be a little bit concerned if we start blasting and that he might be blasting himself off the cliff. That's the kind of physics we need. Anyhow, big picture right now. Clem has got a good amount of army. Serral, however, has got a good amount of economy. His creep spread is decent, but not far away enough to hold on to this expansion, I don't think. Yeah, he's definitely going to be forced to cancel that. And economics obviously will only get you so far. Beautiful explosions right there. But obviously that's nice for Serral. Once again. Okay. Ooh. We have aggression on the other side of the map. That siege tank helping out, but also shooting at the Banelings and causing splash damage right there to those SCVs. 8 more end up going down, and ton. One more Baneling would have been sick. Maybe 2 Zerglings here would have been awesome as well, but Serral still holds on, and he's got a good eco. It's all very dicey, though. Like, I'm liking this situation here for Serral a little bit better, but this is also moments away from disaster, right? Okay, those Widowmine hits are pretty sweet. Now the Marine drop is going to head on over towards the main base. Infestation Pit is coming up. This is not the clean Serral that we are used to seeing. Obviously, that's because of the fact that Clem is being very obnoxious here with his early game, but Serral historically has been incredibly good at efficiently cleaning up all of this aggression. And it seems to me that he's mostly playing reactionary here so far. He's like reacting to seeing those Marines drop out of the medevac rather than being in the right place at the right time. Okay, Clem picking up the multitasking right now. Actions per minute are going up. 459 average actions per minute here so far for Serral. 370, 380 here for Clem. Obviously, though, Zerg APM is always a little bit higher because, well, say, for example, you select all of your hatcheries and then you select your larva and you decide to make a good round of Zerglings. You just hold down the Z button. Every single one of those groups of Zerglings counts as one action. But, obviously, you're just holding down a button. So it's always a little bit inflated. Anyways, Clem catching up right now in that economy since he secured the base at the bottom section of the map. At that 6 o'clock position. Okay, a couple of Widowmines here do get denied. Drop on the left side also gets denied. Yeah, it's going to be a planetary over here together with a sensor tower, so future Ling run-bys probably not as effective. Medevac drop over here. Okay, getting some work done as well, but Serral's starting to clean all of it up really nicely. He's going into a hive right now as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a lurker den here momentarily. Upgrades. Actually, ooh, Clem did not start up 2-2. Why did we not go 2-2 yet? He doesn't have a lot of money. I guess he's a little bit concerned, but I don't think he was in a position to go and win the game. That's honestly the main reason why we see players delaying the 2-2 upgrades, because they believe that they can go and win the game next, or because they're very concerned of losing the game within the next couple minutes. I don't think either of those two statements, though, were true in this game. So Clem, very late in those upgrades. That actually sucks, because Serral's already finished up 2-2, and he's now even started up the missile upgrades as well, as he's waiting for his hive to finish up. He figures, you know what, I guess I'll upgrade my Hydralisk here as well. Lurker Den coming up. Obviously, the Lurkers also benefit from that. Marines in particular, though. Ooh, look at Jimmy over here. Jimmy, no. Ooh, he disintegrated as he was floating to the surface of Data C. Don't know how that works. One of the top 10 things that science can't explain. Anyhow, it's gonna matter here over the next couple minutes. Obviously, eventually, if this game goes on for another 10-15 minutes, all of those upgrades are gonna be, well, maxed out, so it doesn't really matter all too much. But for at least another while, until Clem finishes up 3-3, he is gonna be behind in those upgrades. And that really makes those fights between Zerglings and Marines, yeah, heavily favored for Clem. Or heavily favored for Serral, rather. Obviously, with Clem having the anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. I'm sure you figured it out by now. Upgrades, good. Not upgrades, bad. Good commentary by me, right? Even a Nidus network is coming up right now. Adrenal Gland's already coming up. We do have some nice detonations here, despite the fact that Serral's trying to micro against it. That's a good group of Marines, though. Yeah, you may actually just be able to take out that base. That hatchery is going to go down. All of the Zerg units are running back home, but the hatch is already gone. At the same time, there's a fight over here on the right side of the map, too. All of the fights look pretty good for Clem, but we should be going into that lurker play here very soon, right? So those tempo advantages are nice, but the tempo is essentially completely nullified as soon as lurkers hit the battlefield. Because you can't keep doing those marine pushes when there's like 5 lurkers burrowed over here, because you just, you know, get destroyed. A little bit of a Zerg sandwich coming up. Okay, he picks up, gets them out of there. But yeah, now the lurkers are coming. We already even have neural parasite researching, which is kind of interesting to me. So I saw pathogen glands, which is the energy upgrade for the infestors, but neural parasite is really quick at this point in the game. So taking control of some of those units is nice, but what are you going to control? I guess ghosts? That's probably the plan. Anyways, Nidus Worm going up in the back of the Terran's main base. Clem really busy moving out around the map right now. He doesn't actually see this just yet until right now. That means that those lurkers can go out pretty easily And this is super annoying. This is one of those moves that it costs the Terran like 100 actions to deal with, right? You spent like, I don't know, like a quarter of a minute trying to get rid of those lurkers, whereas Zerg just burrows them once and that's it. This is an incredibly APM intensive fight for Clem, and for Serral it's just a single burrow. Anyways, he's moving forward right now as well, trying to use that multitasking against Clem right here. Then again, good splits right there though from the Frenchman. Keeping a lot of those units alive. That siege tank on the high ground, it's got 17 kills, but I've got a feeling a lot of those kills are not Zerglings and Banes. Anyhow. There go the infestors. Agent 007, 008. I'm not entirely sure. They are looking, I think, to neural parasite ghosts and then to EMP the other ghosts. That is how we see him being used most of the time. Obviously, fungal growth is still something that's super nice as well. It seemed a little bit early, though, for the neural parasite research. But I guess if you have the money, you may as well. Anyhow, 3-3. I'm missing it, Clem. He's got the money for it here. Considering we're playing a best-of-5 series, that's not looking all too great, right? Like, Clem, he's on point when it comes to his harassment, and his micro looks really good, but he seems a little bit out of it macro and base defense-wise. Obviously, I'm being very critical here, but this is pretty much the highest level of European Terran versus Zerg that we have. Mistakes are expected, but those are mistakes that, ooh, shouldn't be happening. Okay, now the fights are all looking really good for him, though. He's doing an excellent job just, yeah, being on top of everything. Infestor on the ground here. Is he gonna uproot it? Unburrow, fungal. Oh, now the banelings go. Well, you know what? I say that. I almost turned to Goofy over there as well. He's still got some good detonations with those Widow Mines, and in the end, that wasn't actually too terrible for Clem. Yeah, it was still pretty bad, but at the very least, you know, a bunch of the ghosts managed to live through that. Okay. So Serral's got Lurkers, he's got Vipers, he's got Infestors, he's got Queenslings, Banes, Hydras, Overseers. He's got a little bit of everything. Theoretically, fantastic. Realistically, you have to have like 500 APM just to control those armies properly. And we are indeed headed in that direction right now. Fungal growth is awesome though. Yep, super nice. Would have liked to see the parasitic bomb on the back of this as well, but Serral actually trying to send those Vipers to watch the other side. Clem still being incredibly aggressive though. One nice thing about this non-stop aggression, right, is that securing those outer bases actually becomes, well, a little bit easier. Normally we see Terran struggling to get that base up and running, right, that 5th expansion, but now even we have another base here on the low ground too, and there's really nothing that Serral has been able to do against it. Serral is actually crumbling under all of this pressure, despite the fact that 3-3. I can't get over the 3-3 situation, okay? It's such a big upgrade. Maybe he assumes he's finished it at this point, but I would even go as far as to say that if Clem ends up losing this game, it's probably because of the fact that his upgrades are late. Anyways. He's still looking really, really strong here. But those fights are just much more difficult than they need to be. Serral right now, maxing out everything. He's already got the +3 carapace. He's going for even a second lair right now. Okay, fair enough. It's gonna be nice for those Vipers to get some additional energy. Okay, good engagement over here once again for the Frenchman. Nope. Not this time around, Agent 007. It's not gonna happen. An Infestor with a mission, but not enough. The Terran late game is looking scary, though. I think the song is better without me doing that, but I'm gonna keep doing it. Okay, sorry, I don't want you guys to unsubscribe. I guess I'll stop. Anyways, Serral looking to collapse on top of this, but I don't think that's the engagement. There's Liberation Zone, Static Defense, Planetary Fortress. I don't think you're gonna break that. At the same time, it looks like there was a little bit of burrow micro there in the top left-hand corner, as Serral did blow up a bunch of his opponent's army. Okay. Oh, here come the Banelings. They do end up killing that planetary fortress there in the end, but that was an expensive fight. If you look at the battle report right here, you can see that Clem has been destroying quite a bit of money here of the opponent, and he's not done just yet. Okay. Clem is actually winning the fights, despite the fact that he's missing 2 upgrades. There's the one swarm host. The panic swarm host. It's got to do with the way that Serral does his queen inject. And sometimes we see players accidentally making a swarm host when they definitely don't mean to, when they like accidentally fat finger one of their hotkeys. I'm liking the late game engagement here for Clem a lot. Clem is doing an amazing job continuously harassing the opponent here, and it's Serral who is up with his back against the wall. Serral's plan is to essentially try to overwhelm the opponent, but so far that's really not happened. His economy is still good, but Clem is the one with a larger supply count right now, as well as a larger bank, so this very swarmy approach from Serral is not working out. There's the Locust. Okay, that wouldn't mind dealing a bunch of friendly fire too. Infestor trying to go in for the fungal growth, but honestly not looking too hot over here at all. No, Serral once again bleeding out a couple too many units. And despite the fact that Mr. Clem here is missing 2 entire upgrades that, again, benefit quite literally his entire army, other than the siege tanks, the widow mines, and the liberators, and I guess the medevacs, but you know, the primary damage dealers here in his army are, yeah, lacking 2 upgrades. Despite all of that, Clem still wins game number 1. Okay, so real quick, before we jump into game number 2, I just want to show you how significant those upgrades are, because it's a bit of an abstract term in StarCraft 2, but it's such a big difference. So right over here on the left, we've got 150 Zerglings. They have 3 upgrades, link speed, as well as adrenal glands. Over here on the right, we've got 75 Marines. And they have 2 upgrades, so they're lacking 3, and they've got combat shields. I did not give them Stimpack, just because that makes it a little bit less scientific, although I guess this already isn't the most scientific way. This in total, by the way, is 3750 minerals on both sides, as well as 75 supply, so should be a pretty direct 1-to-1 comparison. So I'm gonna run this twice. In the first one, apparently the Zerglings end up winning with 35 units remaining. Okay. Gonna do the exact same fight, but now this time around I'm gonna give them infantry weapons level 3 and infantry armor level 3. Now look at the difference that this makes, okay? Look at this. So we go from the Terran losing with like 35 Zerglings remaining to the Terran player winning with 42 Marines remaining. The difference is staggering, honestly. Game number 2. We find ourselves on Stargazers. Honestly, that makes the win of Clem even more impressive, right? The fact that he ended up winning without being fully upgraded. I just wanted to show you guys real quick, because I know there's a bunch of you watching that are like, Lowko, really? I mean, it's nice. You know, the units get a little bit more powerful, but that's not the reason, right? It doesn't really matter too much, Lowko. Just shut up about the upgrades. Look, I just want to show you real quick about what the difference actually is, because that really blew my mind when well, I've been playing StarCraft 2 for like 5+ years, like pretty much every day, and I did not quite value upgrades as much as I should have. And I hope some of you had their minds blown as well, just looking at that comparison we just had. Anyways, Stargazers, a little bit more of a funky map, right? Obviously, we've got the in-base expansion over here with the 2 mineral fields. We've got that little ramp over here as well with the 2 larger mineral fields. We've got that really crooked star over here. I mean, it looks like a star on the minimap, but honestly, this is the ugliest star I've ever seen. Yeah, it looks okay from that angle, but as soon as you turn the camera, it's pretty ugly. And then at the bottom section of the map, the star, by the way, doesn't really matter all too much, although I guess it's the reason why it's called Stargazers. Yeah, the bottom section of the map at the 6 o'clock position, we've got those beautiful golden minerals. And we've seen some very long games where the golden minerals are the game decider. Anyhow, we'll have to see if they even come into play in this particular game, because Serral's not the type of guy who will be rushing out those golden minerals here anytime soon. Reaper's already out. And while that guy runs across the map, or I guess flies across the map, I've got a little bit of time to drink some water. Clem's very good, actually, at that Reaper control. I know a lot of players dread playing against Clem's Reapers. One Zergling. He's aiming for the drones, obviously. If he can get a drone, that'd be huge. 2 Zerglings. Queen also get booped around, and the Reaper goes back home. Okay, so what exactly do we have right here on the side of Clem? I am a big fan of this particular opener, even though it's stupidly greedy. So we've got a command center on the low ground at the conventional timing, and then we've got another command center at the pocket base. This command center is super quick. To put it in comparison, we normally don't see that one starting up until, well, in like a macro game where you go for a 1-1-1 first, we don't normally see that one starting up until like 4 minutes, 10-ish seconds, depending on exactly the execution that Terran went for. They'll usually then build it right here as a wall off. But if you can get away with such a quick third CC, not only do you get a lot of economy, right? You can also just stop making supply depots for a while. So right now, 34 out of 46. When Clem finishes up that command center, he's not gonna need any supply depots for a long time. So obviously, you know, you need to make sure you make a wall here eventually too, so it can be a little bit dangerous. But overall, if you can get away with this opener, it's amazing. Serral at this point, he knows what he's going up against. He's seen the timing. You know, even sees the switcheroo as well. So despite the fact that we had a couple Hellions coming out, that is a cute little player from Clem. Despite the fact that he went for a couple Hellions here, Serral double checked, and he saw that indeed we already have the switch back towards Marine production. So this kind of looks like a Marine drop, a delayed 16 Marine drop with, yeah, double medevac. So it's kind of cool, actually. I did not expect him to only make 2 Hellions right there out of that factory, but yeah, Serral apparently thinking one step further here already. Now knows exactly what it is he's facing off against. Not that he's really going to be able to do a whole lot about it, but against this sort of opener, you don't really need to start making Zerglings until Marines can really start roaming the map. So I don't really expect Serral to start making a lot of links here until, yeah, maybe 4:50, 5 minutes. So against the conventional 2-1-1 opener, you start making Zerglings right around 4:30 or so. But Serral should be able to drone up here for, yeah, quite a while. So he's going to have near 3-base saturation before he even starts making Zerglings, which, I mean, he's got a small group of them, right? But before he really starts making a lot of links here, he'll have a very, very nice economy. The thing is, normally the 2-1-1, you're kind of, yeah, you kind of, hello, guys. Medevacs are sleeping on the job for a little bit. Normally, you're kind of waiting for the Terran player to deal some damage. With this opener, though, Clem really doesn't need to deal damage because he's already got that third CC done. Now, finally, the wall completes here as well on the low ground. Serral not making use of that knowledge. Instead, decided to, yeah, make a lot of those drones here. Okay. So how many links do we have? 20. Yeah. With the amount of queens, though, I think it's going to be enough. Although it does feel a little bit risky. Nah, actually, totally fine. The only problem with this opener here from Terran is that Serral basically gets to do what he loves doing. And that is spreading creep, making expansions, getting drones, and playing the macro game. Now, evidently, Clem definitely knows how to play a macro game as well, but this is playing into Serral's strong suit. Okay, they're gonna have Stimpak here as well as combat shields in about 45-ish seconds. Combat shields, of course, adding a bunch of additional hit points to those Marines. Suddenly the Marines find a shield in their backpacks. Don't know how that makes any sense, but as soon as that upgrade finishes up, they just pull out a shield. They could have had it all this time, but apparently they don't like having 10 more HP. Spire coming up here for Serral, so he's gonna go Mutiling Bane. Cool. That is a sloppy cleanup. Or, well, sloppy micro there from Clem. Good cleanup for Serral. A sloppy cleanup. Anyways, he decides to go for that pretty quick Spire. Nothing all too crazy, but that is going to shut down that drop play from Clem pretty hard. Ooh, okay. We're bringing a Widow Mine as well as 2 other Medevac's full of units. Bailing speed at this point is done, though, and I don't really see this army getting too much work in. Serral sees the Widow Mine. So he doesn't need to be here, right? And he doesn't need to fight this. Yeah. You can just wait until reinforcements show up. Clem is like, yo, come. I've got a natural surprise for you. Come on. I've got one in your pocket base, man. Come check out the surprise. Serral's not going to fall for it. Although he does want to clean this up before... Oh, he's retargeting. Okay, well, my god. Really, Clem? Well then. Huh? Like, that's almost surprising. In the previous game, we saw him microing like literally 4 fights at once. And then for some reason in this one, there's one battle happening and Clem loses everything twice. Ten mutas coming up. Now, the nice thing about mutas is that you can grab that map control, right? They're a very APM-intensive unit, but if you can do everything while also controlling your mutas properly, you can shut down that Terran aggression quite nicely. And Clem is very much so... His bread and butter style is to go for that, yeah, aggressive approach. More Marines here get caught in the map, and now the mutas are going to start hunting down the Medivacs too. This is going from bad to worse right now here for the Frenchmen. There's a couple of Widow Mines over here still being obnoxious, but that little bit of creep clearing that was done in the bottom section of the map is going to be put down once again. I'd love to see those creep tumors moving a little bit further forward. Is that the Reaper from the early game? Pretty much must be, yeah. No accidental additional Reaper here, mate. It's going to be the Reaper from the early game now, joining the Marines as well. They're not, well, they're not willing to give him any of their Stimpack jerks, but even without Stimpacks and without combat shields, I don't think it would have been able to achieve too much. Or even with. Okay. Serral going double Infestation Pit. Honestly, both of the players are... There's no reason to go double Infestation Pit. That is definitely a misplay. We're seeing some mistakes on both sides. I'm not entirely sure at what hour this series was played. That is something to keep in mind. There's a chance that these guys were playing at like 4 AM or something, but... Actually, that's prime Clem time. For those of you unfamiliar, if you want to do a show match featuring Clem, and I know this from experience, any earlier than 4 PM is not possible. Clem is very much so the kind of pro gamer who takes the pro gaming life very seriously. And, you know, he did not sign up. He's losing a bunch of drones, by the way, in the bottom right. He did not sign up to be a professional gamer and then wake up at 8 in the morning, okay? He's very much so the kind of guy who will wake up at, like, 3, 4 PM. So maybe midnight. Yeah, that's probably prime Clem time. I'm fairly sure, actually, Serral is the kind of guy who will be waking up very early. At least that's the... I don't really know, but I feel like, yeah, Serral is very much so the kind of guy who has a rigid schedule, and he'll probably be in bed at like 9:30 PM on average. Yeah, maybe that's a bit early. One problem you'll run into as a pro gamer. Oh, well, maybe hold that thought for a little bit, because there's a lot of aggression happening. Golden expansion here is gonna be the night. Yeah, Clem looking to push on over towards the bottom right-hand corner. Mutas are gonna be able to go back home as well and help out in this engagement down south if they need to. I think that's what they're doing right now, judging by the mini-map. Serral probably wants to come on with a surround, though. There's a Thor in the mix as well, which can deal a lot of splash damage. Okay. Not too great, but there's a lot more Terran army moving across. Yeah, so one problem you run into as a pro gamer is that there's really only a couple dozen people that you can effectively practice against. And if you're at Clem's or Serral's level, there's a very small group of people you can actually practice against. Okay, Banelings split against pretty nicely, but Clem's still not in the most beautiful position here. Anyways, what I'm getting at is if you want to practice, you're going to obviously have to practice against another human. And if all the other pro gamers, you know, start being active at, like, the middle of the afternoon, it's not really possible for you to wake up super early either, even if you do enjoy that. So I feel like Serral might be the kind of guy who, you know, is part of the 5 AM club, but he just can't be. Unless you want to play until 5 AM, but I don't think that's the same. This game is not looking as hot for Clem here. He's going 3-3 upgrade, so that's a start. As this game progresses, though, the mutas are gonna lose more and more of their value, but for now they're still powerful enough to kill a command center, and at this point they're also going after the missile turrets, the widow mines, the marines that pop out of the structures. A lot of units are bleeding out of those bases here from Clem, and it's expensive. A Thor drop coming up, careful. Woo, that Thor was in dead space there. Can't drop it off, and obviously the medevac dies, the Thor dies with it. Okay, yeah, so this is the cool part about playing Mutaling Bane really well. So Serral actually playing a resource-efficient style here, which is kind of amazing because the Ling Bane armies, generally speaking, never trade cost-efficiently. Serral doing an excellent job controlling those mutas and keeping the majority of them alive. Banelings hunting down whatever they can once more. Planetary Fortress, though, is here. There's a ton of missile turrets set up as well, and at the same time, a fight at the bottom section of the map is going to once more force the council on that golden mineral base. Scan over there reveals exactly what's happening on the other side of the bush. One problem here for Clem, though, is that he's running out of money. He's still got some good income right now, but he really needs a new base here. Serral's got the pocket expansion that is still fully mineable, so he doesn't really have to concern himself with all of that too much. Okay, I don't think you want to fight too deeply off creep, though. Do you really want to fight so deep off creep? Okay, I was gonna say, that is almost embracing Clem exactly where he wants to fight. 4 Ultralisks are coming up, so Serral's setting himself up for that Ultra transition. At this point, no Ghost or anything like that available just yet. Widowmine here, getting 7 kills as well at the bottom section. Thor being incredibly obnoxious. No planetary fortress in this area just yet. Do we have any reinforcements? We do, but Zorklings are once more going to deny that, and it's now forcing those Terran units in the middle of the map to return back home. Okay. So, Mutaling Bane into Ultras. This is a bit of a classic, but it is one of those unit compositions that can lose value as time goes by. Clem is going for the Liberators, he's going for the Ghost, he's already got Thors, he can go even into Hellbats if he really wants to. He's got that late game Terran army. Or at least that's what he's going for. Whereas with Serral right now, he's got an army that's incredibly potent at this point in the game, but it's losing some of that potency as the game goes on. Problem is, he doesn't really want to fight off creep too much, unless he can catch his opponent off guard. Clem, though, now moving over here and actually grabbing another expansion. Not bad at all. Excellent movement from Clem. Clem's late game is looking ridiculous, actually. Problem here is that the mutas are still out. It's only 13 of them, but it's enough to deny medevacs. How are you gonna engage this, right? He wants to fight that Terran army really badly, but even though he's got a ton of money in the bank, he doesn't really have enough army to properly fight this. Now the mutas are starting to get picked off. That may very well be the last of them. Well, he now decides to go for a couple Corruptors. Interesting. I wonder if the Corruptors are just here to get rid of those medevacs, or if he plans on going for a Greater Spire after the +3 upgrade is done. Clem heading on over towards the bottom left, trying to secure another expansion there. And once that base is up and running, we are essentially in a split map. I don't really see Serral mining the 6 o'clock position. So if he doesn't mine the 6 o'clock, I'm actually starting to be a little bit concerned for Serral. I mean, he's still in a good spot right now, but if this game goes on for another little while, if Clem manages to defend against it in the way that he is right now, amazing splits right here from the Frenchman. This is gonna look better and better for him. Ultras just get absolutely demolished. There's another counterattack. Clem, you absolute madman. He's being attacked, right, by a massive Zerg army. And he's like, yep, you know what? Perfect time to send some units towards the other side. Maybe in this case not as worthwhile, but he denies the base at the 6 o'clock with his units that were reinforcing the bottom left. And that's another Zerg expansion denied once more. Here's that drop from earlier. Coming back in for more, and it kills the base. Marine's gonna have to pay the price, but Still not a bad trade whenever you're trading a couple minerals for a bunch of gas. Not the end of the world at all. Planetary Fortress at this point is done. Snipes once again connect with the Ultras. Clem's late game is looking stupid. So powerful, man. Somehow he seems to be in control of practically everything. Beautiful moves. Yeah, so Serral has kind of teched himself into a corner, right? Yeah, he just calls GG. He can't go lurkers here. He doesn't have the money. This is an early GG, though, from Serral. I'm pretty sure that's as close to a frustrated Serral as we're going to get today. Because that wasn't necessarily game over just yet, but it was certainly heading in that direction. Serral was trying his very best to obtain the victory before Clem got to that split map scenario, but as soon as Clem got there, he thought, you know what, I'll try one more time and then I'll tap out. Serral is the kind of guy who powers up when he's behind. Especially in offline tournaments, he's very dangerous when he's behind in map score. But this was obviously played online, and sadly we don't have player cameras, but if I were to make a guess, Serral is probably feeling pretty tilted right now, because he was winning that game for the first, I don't know, 80%-ish. Then the next 15%, everything was even, and then the last 5% of the game, and obviously the only part that really counts is the last section. Yeah, in the last 5% he was losing, and in the end, it's Clem who ends up winning. Excellent, excellent games right here from Clem so far. Yeah, the early game in game number 1 didn't go particularly well either, right? So Serral may be winning the early to mid game, but Clem winning the mid to late game. And in the end, that's really all that matters. As long as you win the game and you don't take critical damage before that point, you'll probably be fine. Alright, so Tropical Sacrifice is going to be our third map. Match point right here for Clem already. This is a very defensive map, although I have seen Serral go for some more aggressive pushes on this map in the past. Is this really the time in the match where you want to be bringing out... well, honestly, when else, right? Like, if you're gonna be playing 2 macro games in a row and Clem seems to be besting you, maybe you should resort to something a little bit more aggressive instead. Although, again, that's really not the way that Serral normally likes to play, so... Wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna be seeing him going for the standard approach. Clem, by the way, also not taking any chances here. Scouting with an SCV before the Reaper, so that is him making sure that everything is okay, dotting his I's, crossing his T's, just... Did I just say it right? Did I say dotting the T's, crossing the I? No, I did say it right. Pretty sure I got it right. Pretty sure what I counted earlier also totaled up to 100%, right? Sometimes I listen back to my own commentary and, you know, at the time while I was casting it made a lot of sense, but then I listened back to myself talking and I realized that's not what I wanted to say. Anyways, Reaper just now killed a drone. A drone and the Zergling. Triple CC opener here once again from Clem. Pretty early. Okay. Serral going for the third hatchery. Normally, if we see Zergs going for an early game Roach Warren, we see it at latest at about 3.5 minutes. So there are a variety, right? There's a couple different options that you have when it comes to Roach aggression. Could go for the very quick Roach Warren, a bit of a delayed one, like the 5 Roach opener, the 9 Roach opener, and then you have different flavors of Roach openers after that too. But right now would be the latest time for Serral to go for a Roach Warren. I don't think so. Nope. So he's just going to be playing a macro game. Fair enough. Very impressive stuff here, though, so far from Clem. Not really running into a whole lot of problems. Hey, by the way, in case you're unfamiliar, I think I've brought this up in yesterday's video as well. But in case you're unfamiliar, I've got a second YouTube channel that I like to post content on too. As you may be aware, I play a lot of games over at twitch.tv/LowkoTV, but I can imagine that, well, I stream from 2 to 8 p.m. Central European time, pretty much every day. So I put in a lot of hours over at Twitch, but I can imagine not everyone can actually watch the live stream because of the time zones that you guys are in. If you are interested, though, in watching any of the games that I have streamed on Twitch that I've completed, you can head on over to youtube.com/moreloko. There's a link in the description of this video, too, because there's another YouTube channel where I post all of those completed playthroughs. And I can imagine that some of you might be interested in checking that out, but you might not be aware of the fact that that channel even exists. Anyways, what exactly do we have here? A triple barrack start for Clem. Interesting. Lair coming up right now for Serral. Did Serral see all the barracks? Yeah, he did. So he saw exactly what it is he's going up against. This is one of those delayed starport openers, which means that there's not going to be any medevacs here, but there's going to be an awful lot of Lings and Banes. There's going to be an awful lot of Marines and, you know, upgrades here. There's barracks number 4 and 5 already as well. So Clem definitely looking to make a lot of bio army here. Okay, yeah, so this factory is just here to make add-ons. It's a little bit sad for the factory guy, right? You know that there's a dude living in there, very excited to build the big mechanical machines, and he's just been tasked to make tech layerstone reactors instead. A little bit sad, but... Serral actually mixing it up now. Okay, so this is a macro Roach Warren. So rather than going for the lair together with a Baneling Nest, which is what we've seen him doing so far in this series, he decides to go for a lair together with a Roach Warren and then also 1/1 upgrades. Interesting. Okay. So he's mixing it up a little bit. One problem with the Roach Ravager style is that if you're not in the right place at the right time and Terran goes for that heavy drop style, you can't really reactively send units. You have to be in the right place at the right time. So say, for example, there's a medevac drop over here in the main base, and your army is located over here, and you have to walk those roaches over in that direction. It doesn't really work, because the Marines are already going to murder everything. With Zerglings and Banelings, you have a little bit more time to respond. With Roaches, you have to be very careful with your army positioning. Ooh, okay. Really? So, it's Roaches, +1/+1, Glial Reconstitution, which is the Roach speed upgrade, and then the Nidus network. Interesting. So this is Serral mixing it up. It's Clem playing the heaviest macro style too, right? Maybe Clem feeling a little bit too comfortable right now. He's thinking, you know what, I got his number in the late game, let's just go straight there. But sadly here for Clem, it takes 2 people to play that type of game. We're gonna bring the queens, is that the plan? Are we gonna... I thought maybe a Nidus in the main base, but honestly, that's gonna be very difficult to pull off as Clem has got all the vision around there. He's gonna finish up 1/1 upgrades. Is he just going to use it to send reinforcements in a little bit quicker? I mean, there's no siege tanks in this game. Okay, some corrosive balls here to get rid of those mines. Not bad at all. Could obviously try to Nidus behind the wall off. That is always an option. No, it is going to be a Nidus in the main base as like a way to, I think, send the reinforcements in. But this is tricky for Clem because his army right now is caught here at the 3rd base. Serral coming out swinging here in game number 3, going for a very aggressive timing attack that needs to work, because otherwise he falls behind very quickly. But now the queens are here. One of the Nidus worms gets denied, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be another one here momentarily. In the meantime, it looks like the Roaches and the Ravagers are also winning the battle over here. 2/2 upgrades finish up for Clem, but I don't think he's going to be able to get a lot of value out of it as Serral is dealing a ton of damage right here with his Roach Ravager push. Then again, though, he's losing everything in the main base, but the supply count is just a little too significant. Command Center burning right now. It's going to need to find an SCV to repair it back up to full. And even though the Nidus Worm didn't achieve too much damage, it at the very least distracted that entire Terran army, right? Like all of the reinforcements heading in that direction. No Queen Ejects, though, on the other side of the map at this point, I'd imagine. Nope, he's got 0 queens remaining, but he's got 4 hatcheries producing larvae. One advantage of Roach Ravager is that it's not nearly as larva intensive as Ling Bane. 4 queens starting up though, so Serral feeling the heat here a little bit as well, wondering what happens if the opponent does clean all of this up. Clem trying to make the best of a bad situation, but I don't see it happening. I mean, his supply count is, yeah, basically a third of where Serral's currently at, and there it is. Next up, Inside and Out. Sounds like 2 maps, but no, it's only a single one. Clem getting his opponent inside the map, trying to get him out of it as quickly as possible as well, though. I feel like there's a pun there somewhere, but I've been thinking about the inside and out puns for several weeks. Can't find anything, man, but I feel like there's something good there. Maybe someone in the comment section can give us something a little bit funnier than whatever I just said. I don't even remember. I don't want to talk about it, okay? Anyways, yeah, this is another one of those very straightforward maps. Evidently, the Road Ravager push ended up working really well. But it's like a little asterisk right next to it, right? Because there are many situations where Clem can hold that sort of aggression, and Clem was clearly not trying to deal a whole lot of damage in the early to mid game there. I don't think it's the type of build order, let me put it like that. I don't think it's the type of build order that Serral can pull off multiple times in one series, unless, you know, Clem really has no idea about how to deal with it, but it's really not rocket science. I'm fairly sure that he knows what to do, he just, yeah, didn't know that it was coming. He'll probably scout for that a little bit more aggressively in this game. Once more, though, super quick third command center. Serral not opting to go for anything crazy this game so far. Again, if we're gonna see a Roach Warren coming up as part of like an early game cheese, we'll probably see it at 3:30 at latest. The previous game was more of a macro Roach Warren, if that makes sense, despite the fact that he did go for an all-in. There's a lot of like nuance in the early games for, you know, a lot of these StarCraft matches, but Serral having 66 drones, I think, available, I don't think that counts as an early game push anymore. Although there's no... he wants to get that trooper so bad. There's no exact... Like, I've had that question many times, Lowko, like, when does the early game end? When does the late game start? It's not really... A lot of Zerglings, by the way. It's not really a super strict line. It's mostly that we have like an early game section, and then a mid game section, and a late game section, and a lot of it has to do with the amount of economy and the units that are out on the battlefield. Serral, though, going across the map and catching his opponent right here, yeah, without a whole lot of army. That's because Clem is sending out those first units of his across the map. He's trying to keep as many of those SCVs alive right now, losing a couple of them. Yeah, good successful start right here, though, for Serral. Serral reading his opponent like a book. He's got that Overlord over here as well to confirm that the opponent indeed did decide to move out. And if that's the case, it's going to be Serral who grabs a really nice economy lead. This is just because of the fact that those workers aren't mining. Obviously, it didn't last for a full minute, but still a nice situation to be in for sure. Obviously, it does come at the cost of making a bunch of Zerglings, but I don't think he's going to be all too bothered by that. Okay. Follow-up here from the Terran this time around is the cloaking field upgrade, but Serral already spotted that one as well. So double tech lab here. It's going to be a bio approach once again from Clem, unsurprisingly. Even though mech is rather popular right now. Yeah, not really actually. It's kind of popular. Gumiho, for example, likes to go for it from time to time, and I've seen a few other Terran players pulling it off too. Anyways, yeah, he's going to go for the double tech lab. One of the tech labs on the starport to get that Banshee out, and then, obviously, one on the barracks to go for the Stimpeg research. Just a singular Banshee? No, there's already two out. Okay, I was gonna say. Whoa, one of them is even... It's already got a kill. I completely missed it. Are we just gonna be satisfied with killing the fourth hatchery? Okay. It's a little bit of bait, though, because Cloak is done. Okay. Overseer is coming up, but I don't think it's going to be done in time. Drone? Hello? You really want to kill the drone, though. Yeah, Serral just starts it up again. He's like, yo, hey, if you're not going to kill it... This is still not great, though, for Serral here. Yeah, he cancels it again, restarts it again. Queen's now, in the meantime, distracted. Fighting over in this section of the map at the same time. Now the Hellions are over here because the Queens are so busy. Serral once again panicking with the Evo Chambers. Okay, good block right over here. Amazing block, actually. Eventually, the hatchery does go up, but without those Queens in the right place at the right time, this becomes so dangerous. Oh, good control right here from Clem. Really maximizing the amount of damage he can do right now, denying those Zerglings. Tons of drones are finding their graves over here. And that may actually just be game-ending damage. Yeah. I mean, Serral obviously already had a lot of workers out, but losing 23 of them at the cost of only 7 Hellions, I don't think that is worth. Hey, at least he got the base up, though, huh? Yeah, that's nice. Well, if Clem has any say in the matter, he's going to be denying that as well one more time, as he's already running on over in this direction. Banshees will still be able to stay alive. Bailing speed is going to finish up here momentarily, so that's at least something that Serral does have going for him. Honestly, the worker count is not even that bad for him, because he's already got so many of them, but this has been a fantastic early game here for Clem. Creep spread, though, I think still good enough to push all of this back. 2 Widow Mines here in the mix, that's nice. Couple of Banelings have been tasked with rolling into the mineral line here as well. Serral needs to pull a rabbit out of a hat. And if he can blow up a couple SCVs, that would actually be really nice. Okay, Terran in the meantime busy microing over here. He does react, but not fast enough. Oh, okay. You know what? That actually justifies this early game quite nicely. No Evo chambers that Terran players can make, right? To quickly block any of these units. That'd be sick, but sadly not an option. Okay. So in the end, still a slight advantage, I would say, here for Clem, but not as significant as it really should be. That Zergling run by in the early game shouldn't have happened, and that Baneling roll by just now should also not have happened. Those Banshees just simply not in the right place. If they were over here, it would have been fine. If they were over here, yeah, not. Or if they are over here, not as good. Anyway, both of those moves very preventable, but it's happened, and it doesn't really matter all too much right now. Clem forced to play a longer game now. I don't think he's going to be able to win with a very quick, like +2/+2/+2 timing attack or something along those lines. Although he is starting up those upgrades right now. I feel like the queens have not been injecting bases here in a while. Yeah, he's got so many queens now. 12 of them. Just queens alone, though, is not going to cut defending this base. So, we'll need more units. Okay, queens transfusing one another. That's Zergling over there, forcing a lot of friendly fire. I would love to see those rocks getting knocked down right here by Serral, but setting up surrounds here is really tricky. Okay. 2-2 coming up here as well for the finisher, who now decides to go for the Hydralisk Den. So once again, Hydraling Bane, probably followed up into Lurkers later. Nice little bit of engagement here once again. Clem getting most of those units out of there. The creep is slowly pushing forward, though. Not a lot of creep on this side of the map since the queens have been so busy on the bottom right corner. They haven't had a time to put any creep troopers in this area after they got sniped by Clem, which actually is starting to be a bit of a problem. Well, good control once again here by the Frenchman. Clément Desplonges. That was my best French pronunciation. I feel like I nailed it. I'm liking this more and more for Clem right now, though. Like, all of these fights are very uncomfortable for Zerg, and even though everything is okay right now, Serral's on a razor's edge, right? You can really feel that the pressure is starting to become a real problem now. I mean, he's holding on. It's fine, but I feel like we are moments away from things not being fine. Okay, well, you know what? He cleans it up once more. The creep is starting to be a problem. If you had creep over here, if you had creep over here, all of this would be a lot more manageable. But Clem at this point, not the kind of guy who's going to give you that creep spread if he has any say in the matter. (3-3) coming up. Hive only just now coming up as well, so Clem is going to have a nice upgrade lead. Maybe a little bit of an overly ambitious push, though, into the main base. Not really getting as much done over there. All of these battles, it's Zerg bleeding out more and more stuff, right? So if you look right now at the resources lost, yeah. So this is where where that difference is being made. It's not like Clem's economy is no good on the back of this. As a matter of fact, he's now securing a 5th base, and Serral is really doing nothing about it because he just can't really afford the units to go in for a counterattack. I mean, he wants to, but... Okay, now he's decided to go a little bit more aggressively. Disengages for a moment, but Clem on point there as well. Ends up losing the Viking and a couple of units, but nothing all too crazy. Okay. Trying his best to hold on, right? But all of these fights are actually insane for Clem. Like, Clem is getting so much value out of his bio army here. I know there's at least 10 Terran players watching this right now that feel inspired to do this exact same thing on the ladder, who are gonna be watching this video and then queue up a couple of games. I just want to emphasize that this is incredibly difficult to pull off. When you see Clem doing it, it looks pretty straightforward, but whenever I try to do it, I pick up right after my units have all died. So I end up picking nothing up. Okay. Or, you know, you're so busy microing on the other side of the map. You're managing 2 battles at once and you think you're doing a phenomenal job. And then you glance in the top right-hand corner. You look at the amount of minerals and gas that you've got and you realize, wait a second. I've not been producing anything for 3 minutes. Okay, that Widow Mine over there, though. Pretty sweet for the Zerg. Helping out quite a bit more. Yeah, macro-wise, these guys are actually excellent here. Neither of them really ever, dropping the ball in that department. A little bit of stutter step micro because, you know, why the hell not? Here's the problem. 3-3 is finishing. Serral has only just started the he started up the +3 ground carapace upgrade, so that's nice. But these units of his are not going to pack as much of a punch. He's going in Festers right now, so that's where the gas is going. But it's coming at the cost of adrenal glands. So no adrenal glands here. He's got the resources for it. I've got a feeling he should really start that up. But I guess he's a little bit concerned right now with Terran running away with the victory here. So decides to go and commit some of those resources to a counterattack instead. And now he's starting to clean stuff up. Expansion over here, morphing into a planetary 2. That's at the 3 o'clock position. So pretty close to where Clem has been fighting for the last 10 minutes. Ghosts are coming up right now as well, though, for Clem. And that's, you know, that's scary here for Serral. Okay. Parasitic Bomb at the very least used, but good splits right there again by the Frenchman. Another Parasitic Bomb. Is he going to split that one off as well? Not as beautifully as the first one, but it doesn't really matter all too much. He can just repair those back up to full. Planetary Fortress in this area of the map gets denied, but the one on the 3 o'clock position, very sneaky here. He double expended. That one's already finished, so even though Serral's putting all of his eggs into denying the base in the top left, Clem has already got another base up and running. He runs links on over in that direction right now, but he finds out that then indeed the planetary is already finished. And Clem is going to start setting up the Sim City over here. There is a Ling, yeah, burrowed over there, but that's... It's nice, but... don't think it's really going to slow Clem down all too much. Okay. Still, things are looking up right now for Serral-ish. Sort of. Kind of. Maybe. I mean, those fights have not been bad for him, but it just doesn't feel super dominant. And in the past, whenever we've seen Serral play this matchup, he's not playing bad by any stretch. But he's looked incredibly dominant, where he just absolutely rolls over the opponent, and you're wondering, what could you even do here as a Terran player? I am not getting that vibe here from Serral at all. I don't think that's due to Serral, though. I think that's just due to the fact that Clem is playing out of his mind. So now suddenly that economy here for Terran is once again looking pretty good. Yeah, so this is where Serral was planning on winning the game. Trying to just soft contain the opponent on just 4 bases. They're going to run out eventually, and at this point the 3rd and the 4th are going to be running relatively low. If you can soft contain your opponent on 4 bases and make sure that they can never take a 5th, you'll eventually end up winning the game, assuming you do have that economy yourself. Serral's had that economy. He's got a good amount of income still, but now Clem is finding himself with 6 bases rather than 4. Okay. There's no Lurker Den or anything along those lines, so just Hydroling Bane here. Good denial of that expansion. At the same time, there's a big fight happening on the left side of the map, and Clem is going to be able to clean up the base here. Yeah, so Serral is basically sticking around on Hydroling Bane, and he's trying to just win the game off of this army composition alone. No late game transition here at all. Okay, that was really good right there for the Frenchman. Big fungal growth, though, connecting with a lot of the ghosts, and the ghosts actually do get denied. That was super expensive. I think that more than justifies those Zergling losses we just saw. Parasitic Bomb over here. Could have probably killed the Viper instead, but... Anyway, Serral now going after that second mining base. That secondary fifth, I guess is what we could call it. And it does get denied once again. Now what he needs to do is deal with the Terran counterattack. Because now you've angered him, man. You've been poking the bear, and now you gotta deal with the bear as well. I think that's the... No, that's an orbital command that he made some time ago. But that is an absolute critical expansion right now because Clem is running out of money. He's gonna need a fungal growth, I think, to stop the advance right here of this Terran force. Want a random Cyclone here in the mix as well. Maybe that's kind of like the Swarm Hosts. Anyways, Serral just making as many units as possible. Okay. Clem with a good supply lead right now, but his economy is not looking so hot. Then again, Serral doesn't have that much mining either, though. He's got one more base mining here than his opponent, but Clem already re-securing the command center in the top left. Oh, that fungal growth could be so big. Okay, he scans and he sees it. That's massive. He ends up losing the Infestor for free. Serral right now trying to negate as much of that splash damage as possible. We're running Zerglings into the opposing player's army. But GG, well played is called from Serral. The WP, the well played, that's not something we see Serral doing all too often. So Clem, getting the 3-1 victory over Serral in an epic best-of-5 series. Hey, if you made it all the way until the end of this video, please take the 1 second that it takes to hit the like button down below. Thank you very much.